A worried woman picks up a crying baby, saying they need to leave. As she goes down the stairs, a man arrives, so she runs to the kitchen. She begs him to let her go, but he starts choking her. Desperately, she grabs a knife from the counter and stabs him. He mutters the name Maddie before collapsing. Years later, Dr. Brian Morgan greets his wife, Dr. Angela Morgan, and their daughter Cora in their bedroom. The family leaves the house together, Brian to work, and Angela and Cora to a group activity. At the park, Angela films Cora playing with a girl named Maddie. Angela and Maddie's mom, Katie, meet each other as Linda, a mutual friend, approaches, happy that the two women are finally introduced. That evening, the women enjoy drinks at the Morgans' house. When Brian arrives home, he finds them both asleep. Angela wakes up and introduces Katie before she and Brian head to their bedroom. As they leave, Katie's eyes snap open, watching them intensely. The next morning, they wake to the sound of laughter and find Katie cooking breakfast. They all enjoy the meal together. Later, as the women paint faces, Katie talks about her plans to start a mural business. Angela encourages her, and Katie begins to feel more confident. Then Linda arrives to take photos. Although Katie hesitates, she eventually agrees to join in. On Memorial Day, the Morgans invite friends over for dinner. They all raise a toast, and Brian's mother, Donna, compliments Katie's cooking. As the evening goes on, Linda decides to leave, and Katie prepares to go as well. However, Angela invites her to stay the night, which Katie agrees to. Later, Katie helps tuck Maddie and Cora into bed. While Brian and Angela clean up, Brian mentions that his mother doesn't like Katie. Katie overhears, but is more disturbed when she notices a knife, triggering memories of when she stabbed someone. Angela, noticing Katie's unease, takes her outside. Katie, still shaken, says she was lucky to have met people who helped women escape abuse. Angela then shares something personal. She explains that after suffering 4 miscarriages, they needed a donor egg to conceive Cora. During the pregnancy, Angela had to take medication to manage the pain. She also confides that she is pregnant again, but hasn't told Brian yet. The next day, Katie is at her motel, putting in colored contacts as she remembers the day she fled with Maddie. Meanwhile, Angela is at another group activity, and her pregnancy complications return. Later, Angela suffers another miscarriage. Devastated, she feels like she can't give Brian the large family or son he wants. Brian comforts her, assuring her that they can always try again. The following day, the Morgans and their friends take a walk. Katie announces she's moving out of the motel and taking a job in Colorado. While the news disappoints everyone, Katie explains she needs the money. Angela offers her a part-time nanny job and suggests Katie could paint a mural for Cora's room. Katie, though grateful, declines, saying the Morgans don't need a nanny. Angela then offers a new idea. She could return to work part-time, and Katie wouldn't have to leave. Cora and Maddie could stay together, and Angela could pursue her career again. Katie eventually agrees, and she moves into the guest house as the new nanny. Donna, however, remains suspicious of the decision. Brian defends the choice, saying it's good for Angela's recovery. Donna questions what kind of recovery Brian means. Frustrated, he reminds her that Angela has been clean from addiction for 2 years. Donna then brings up their new nanny, concerned that they don't know anything about her. At a gathering with friends, Donna subtly questions Katie about her past. Katie openly shares that she grew up in foster care because her father abandoned them and her mother struggled with addiction. She adds that the Morgans have made her feel like family, and she's excited to care for Cora as if she were Maddie's sister. That evening, Brian tries to get close to Angela, but she turns him down. She apologizes, saying it's too soon after their recent problems, and he leaves feeling disappointed. Brian steps outside to watch the fireworks, but instead finds Katie swimming alone. The next morning, on Angela's first day back at work, Katie reassures her that Cora won't even notice she's gone. After Angela leaves, Katie walks around the house as if it were her own. When Angela returns home after work, she calls for Brian, but when no one answers, she heads to the guest house. Inside, she sees Katie with someone and quickly leaves, feeling shocked. Later, when the guest house is empty, Angela returns to apologize. She explains that she panicked, thinking it was Brian inside. Katie reassures her, saying it was just a coworker and that she's no longer interested in men. That night, after seeing Katie's interaction, Angela decides to try for another baby. The next morning, Linda is training at the beach when Katie arrives. They share a moment together, and Katie assumes Angela knows about their relationship, but Linda assures her that no one else knows. Linda then shares that the Morgans are planning to try for another baby, but this time, Linda will be their surrogate. The Morgans have one last egg from Cora's donor, but Angela doesn't want to risk another miscarriage, so they ask Linda to be their surrogate. Katie reminds Linda that she still has swim training, and Linda asks if she's okay with the plan. Katie says it's fine, but when Linda enters the water, Katie looks upset. Later, Katie joins her by the water, but she just stands still. Concerned, Linda offers to back out of the surrogate arrangement, thinking Katie's strange behavior might be because of the news. Katie finally tells her the truth. She admits that she's been a surrogate and also reveals that she was Angela's anonymous egg donor. Linda is shocked when she learns that Maddie and Cora are the same age. Katie explains that Maddie was carried by another woman, but she took her back. Then Katie reveals that she plans to take Cora too, because Angela chose to work instead of spending time with her daughter. After apologizing, Katie attacks Linda and then drowns her. Later, Linda's body is found washed up on the shore. Months later, Katie is living comfortably in the Morgans' guest house, now pregnant with their child as their new surrogate. On the patio, Donna questions Angela about why they chose Linda's former girlfriend to be their surrogate. Angela responds, saying Katie has been a good friend, especially after the miscarriage and Linda's tragic death. Donna then asks why Katie would want to be their surrogate, and Angela bluntly says, $40,000. Donna presses further, asking if Katie will be a permanent part of the child's life, or if they plan to send her away later. Angela admits they haven't thought that far ahead, then excuses herself. Later, Angela shares with Brian that Donna is worried about Katie. Angela then asks Brian if she thinks Katie is beautiful. Brian, uncomfortable, avoids answering. Angela goes on, saying that Donna suspects Katie was once in a relationship with Linda. Brian asks if Angela believes it. At the park, another mother asks Katie about Maddie and Cora, thinking they are her children. Katie doesn't correct her and simply claims they are her twins, not realizing Angela is standing right behind her. When they get home, Angela excitedly announces that their favorite show is on and invites Cora to watch it with her. But to Angela's surprise, Cora wants to watch with Katie instead, leaving Angela stunned and hurt. The next day, Angela takes Katie to the clinic for a checkup. Katie refuses, saying she doesn't want needles near her baby. Angela is confused and asks why Katie acts like the baby is hers. During the exam, Katie remembers the failed egg donation and her infertility, which causes her to panic. Angela comforts her and afterward arranges for pain medication. That night, Angela talks to Brian about Katie's strange behavior, particularly how she keeps calling the baby hers. Brian reassures her that Katie will move on after the baby is born. The next day, on the first day of school, Angela notices the girls are dressed alike. Maddie says they're sisters, but Katie corrects her, saying, like sisters. Later, Angela sees Katie dyeing Maddie's hair. At dinner, Katie explains that they started dyeing it when they ran away, and Cora excitedly mentions her own dark brown hair. Katie brings up her due date and asks when Angela will take maternity leave. Angela says she doesn't need it and prefers to hire a night nurse. Brian supports her decision. Katie offers to cancel her trip to avoid hiring a stranger, but Brian awkwardly suggests it might be better if Katie isn't involved in childcare. Katie sarcastically replies that she understands if they prefer a stranger. She then excuses herself and the girls. Brian praises Katie for being so involved with the kids, while Angela sarcastically suggests they should all just be one big family. Angela hesitates, then throws away Katie's prescription medication, watched silently by Katie, who then walks away. Later, while soaking in the tub, Katie has a flashback. A few years ago, she confronted Maddie's mother for ignoring Maddie's cries, revealing she was the anonymous egg donor before angrily slamming Maddie's mother's head on the tub. Afterward, she took a necklace she claimed was from her abusive ex. Katie snaps out of the memory as Angela tries to talk, calling her an addict. Katie storms off after calling Angela pathetic. The next day, Angela sneaks into the guest house and finds baby books with a photo of Maddie. As Katie returns, Angela slips away unnoticed. That night, Angela searches for the house in the photo, and Brian, the next morning, sees something troubling on the laptop. Later, when Cora cries, Katie calls herself Mama as she comforts her. Angela, upset, notices that all the pictures on the fridge are covered except Katie's. When Angela confronts her, Katie accuses her of being a bad mother and warns her not to snoop again. Brian arrives with a surprise, a fully furnished room for the baby, with a Gabriel nameplate made by Katie. Angela complains, and the tension rises. Brian stays quiet, and Donna expresses concern for Angela. Katie accuses Angela of self-medicating, and Angela insists Katie has been lying about their past. Angela then asks if Katie killed Linda to become their surrogate, which leads to a heated argument. Katie's distress intensifies, and Brian leads her out of the room. The doctor later confirms that Katie and the baby are fine, though more tests are needed. Brian warns Angela that her actions could cause Katie to refuse to give them the baby. He demands Angela apologize to Katie and give a urine sample to prove herself. The next morning, Angela sneaks into the guest house, cuts herself breaking in, and notices Katie's fake eye color. Katie, noticing Angela's injury, is told it happened while cutting carrots. Angela later apologizes for the stress. Brian takes Katie to the hospital, thanking her for accepting Angela's apology. Meanwhile, Angela contacts the egg donor company, expressing her concerns about the donor, but they refuse to disclose any information. Angela, pretending to be interested in buying a painting, asks about the artist behind a mural in an advertisement. When the worker reveals the artist is also one of their egg donors, Angela becomes suspicious and arranges a DNA test with Barry. At the guest house, Katie notices blood on the curtains. The next morning, she spikes Angela's juice, and Angela prepares for the DNA test. Brian tells Angela he's taking the kids to the zoo, and at the hospital, Angela drinks the juice and gives Barry the cups for testing. On the drive home, she starts feeling strange but powers through. Back home, Angela is surprised with a baby shower, but she accuses Katie of drugging her. She tells Brian their surrogate is the anonymous egg donor and shows him proof. They argue in front of their guests, and Brian quickly asks them to leave. In the kitchen, Angela grabs a knife, but Katie manipulates the situation, making Angela appear as the aggressor. Katie injures herself to frame Angela. Brian arrives, separates them, but Angela is hurt. Both women are taken to the hospital. In the lobby, Barry gives Brian the DNA results, and another doctor delivers more bad news. Brian tells Katie about Angela's death, and she asks him to stay. Katie apologizes, and Brian responds coldly. Katie later undergoes an emergency C-section, and after the procedure, Brian tells her the baby is fine. He points out Gabriel in the nursery, but when Katie tries to follow, the door is locked. She watches in rage as Angela enters the room. Authorities soon arrest Katie, and she is convicted and placed in solitary confinement. Meanwhile, Brian returns home, where Angela, Cora, and Maddie are peacefully asleep. He wakes Angela, gives her a locket with pictures of the kids, and they smile, content with their new family.
Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell icon, and stay connected with us.